Welcome to the At Leisure podcast. This is a show about sports, video games, movies, and just basically the things we do with our leisure time. My name is Brett, and I'm here with my good friend Jeff to talk about the Rings of Power. No college recap this week, but we'll pick that up next week. Jeff, how you doing, man?
I am doing good, Brett. Glad to be here.
Ready to talk about some Rings of Power? This somewhat controversial show that I really didn't know was controversial until I started looking up some things to say on this podcast. I was like, oh my gosh, people don't like this.
Yeah, a little bit controversial, I think, from the very, very hardcore, like Tolkien nerds and fans. There's just some things they changed and took a different angle on, I guess you could say, that I don't think made people very happy.
So, like, tell us where you are coming from, because I've already talked about the first two episodes on our podcast. They know where I'm coming from, but tell us where you're coming from. Your knowledge of, the Tolkien universe, Lord of the Rings. Why should we listen to you? That kind of thing.
uh, I'm not an expert by any means, but I've read the three Lord of the Rings books. I've read The Hobbit. I am about, I think, 3 chapters away from finishing the Silmarillion, which is like the pre-history to all the Lord of the Rings stuff. So while I'm not an expert, I am well read in the topic and can probably give some insight that you might not be able to have.
He's an expert. Just take him as his word. He's an
No.
expert. Yeah. All right.
If you say so.
You're definitely the most expert we've had on the podcast. Let's just say that. Of all our guests, you are the most Tolkien knowledgeable.
Yeah, I mean, you know this, but we have a friend, Kaylor, that is probably more of an expert than I, but he's not able to join us.
He's just not available. He's just
he's a busy guy.
He's a busy guy. All right, let's get into it. First question: did you like the show? What were your initial impressions?
I did. I enjoyed it. I think, it takes place in the Second Age, I believe. And really, there's not too much of like Tolkien's writings in that period. So like, I'm not really a stickler. So like, I really enjoyed it. There was some like, it did kind of start out slow, I guess. And I think, I don't know, I didn't listen to when you talked about the other episodes, but...
Oh, come on, you can't say that on the podcast.
I can't?
Jeez, no.
Hey, I have listened
everyone
to the
we
show.
have on listens to the show, so just take that as it is.
Okay, well, edit that out. Good, I wanted to say edit that out.
And then not have us edit it out, right? That's like the podcasters like go-to funny move, yeah.
Yep. I mean, I actually did listen to you, and I think you said that... Anyways, yeah, it got off to a slow start, which I think kind of lost maybe some viewers for them.
It lost Ashton. He didn't watch after the first 2 episodes because he was bored with it.
Oh yeah, one of my coworkers that was excited for the show,
mm-hmm.
Her and her husband, they watched the first 2, and I don't think they've watched since then. So
yeah, it could have started stronger. I think it gets better as it goes, but it definitely started slow.
And overall, I did like the show. I enjoyed it. I think they just took a little bit to kind of get their footing and get the show going.
We hammered it in the first review of the first 2 episodes in one of our early podcasts, but that first episode just did not have a through line. It just felt like, here, remember these characters, and now we're done.
So let's maybe start there. Like the first episode kind of focuses a lot on Galadriel, right?
And Nori.
And Nori, yeah. And that's kind of my biggest thing actually with the show. We're gonna go here.
Yeah. Wait. Before we start, you thought it was good.
Yes.
You thought it was good. We'll give rankings at the end, but you thought it was good, and this is going to be a good conversation. We're just going to start off with some of the negative.
Yes. This is probably my biggest negative. I feel like The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, there's a lot of Hobbit focus there. I didn't need that in this show. The Harfoots, they could have not been in the show, and I would have been totally fine.
Fine. Yeah, I agree. Rewatching this, I'm like, I have no interest in this storyline anymore. The only thing that was keeping me hanging on was who is the stranger. And now that I know, it's like there's nothing.
Yeah. Yes. Hey, should we spoiler alert? Is that a thing?
Well, I'm going to say spoilers for this whole episode, so you can talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get there, though. I don't know if we want to just start right away with the hot stuff.
That's true. But anyways, yeah, the first episode was really just a little bit of backstory and showing us that the characters that we know are still around, or at least some of them. And maybe I should not say are still around, because this is before most of the characters that we love.
Right, right.
But a couple of the characters we love, they're like, hey, look at this. It's
At
Lord of the
least
Rings.
at least familiar characters. Yeah, yeah. Lord of the Rings, guys. Everybody remember those good movies? This is that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they the whole Nori storyline was that civilization is kind of dumb. It's like terrible. They're like singing. They're like nobody's left behind except for when you are. you know, they just
Yeah.
leave people to die. They're like, well, sorry, you're old now. It's time
Yeah.
for you to
And,
just die alone in the forest.
I was thinking about this today. It's like only ever one of these Hobbit or Harfoot creatures want to go on adventure. It's like only one of them is like, you know what? I'm going to go on an adventure with whoever it may be, Gandalf, or Gandalf, actually.
yeah, it's Gandalf. 100% it's Gandalf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the main part of episode 1. Episode 2, Galadriel jumps off the boat to Valinor at the end of
And we
episode
talked
1.
about what was your impression of Valinor in this show?
What do you mean?
We talked about it in the first podcast. The way they framed Valinor, it is like she is on the boat and she looks confused. Like everyone else is like singing and she's like, whoa, whoa, everyone's singing. And then like they try to take the dagger from her and she's like holding on to it and like, oh God, okay, finally taking it away. She just looks confused, like she's not even an elf. And then they open up Valinor and it's just a bright light. And I was like, are they tricking her? Is this a bad thing? And she jumps off. They frame it like it's a terrible thing to go to Valinor. I would not want to go there.
Yeah, well, so I think that I mean, I don't necessarily understand that, but like Valinor is not it's
When you were
not
watching it, how did you see that scene? Did you think, oh, this is exactly how I pictured Valinor to be, or like what did you even think about it, or were you like, oh, this is just happening randomly?
well, this is before I started reading the Silmarillion, which
Yeah,
discusses Valinor a lot, and so I didn't really even think much of it. But if you read like the first few chapters of the Silmarillion, you get a lot of like Valinor stuff, and basically this place is a place where the quote unquote gods reside, but it's not like heaven because it is actually part of the earth, and it's like adjacent to Middle Earth to the left of it, basically, on a map. There's a big ocean, and eventually it's like the elves, the elves, and then the gods that live there. They don't want any of the enemy coming in, so they make it to where the only way to get to Valinor is like you have to cross this ocean. And one of the gods like lives in the ocean. He's kind of like a Poseidon character, and he basically makes it impossible for all but like one guy that knows the route to get to Valinor. And then once you're there, they don't let you ever leave really.
right,
And the elves are immortal, so it's not like they're
right.
going
Well,
to heaven
doesn't like Frodo
necessarily.
go there at the end?
Frodo does, yeah.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I don't who knows what happens to him there, but
Ugh.
it's a pretty
I just thought that
beautiful
scene was
place.
really weird. Thought it was really weird, but it
It
sounds like
was
it didn't
weird.
even bother you. So
It was weird. I just didn't think too much about it because I was more focused
fair
on
enough.
like, okay, Galadriel's clearly not. She's about to jump off this ship. Like,
Yeah, yeah. She looks confused as heck. Like she doesn't know what's going on.
yeah, and I don't know. It's kind of weird how they just were standing in a line. Like, I don't
It's
know.
chanting.
Yeah, I don't know. That didn't make sense to me. I guess, but
Yeah.
I didn't think too much about it.
Let's go into kind of like I'm thinking like maybe we talk about the fight scenes, we talk about the places that we were in the show, and then talk about like the characters. First, I guess we'll talk about Galadriel because we're kind of getting into that. What do you think of her character?
I think for the most part, I mean, okay, initially she wasn't like doing much. Like she just got this vendetta to find Sauron, and I'm like,
Dude, she was so one note.
she was
I
one
did not
note.
like her. Through
It,
this whole show, I really just could not get behind her.
I,
So hot-headed and like
yeah,
making so many dumb decisions. Like when she's in front of the Innuminor, when she just gets there, she's just insulting them left and right. Then I'm like, you're trying to get off this island. Just
yeah,
be
yeah.
kind.
Not very smart move to accomplish her mission for sure. And she's like, I think that's one of the things that like divided people because like that's fairly out of character for her, like in
Right.
anything you can read about
Right.
the
Yeah.
character. And but like if you put that aside, like I thought, as far as how they wrote that, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan, but I thought the actress did a phenomenal job of playing that role. And in the
That's
last few
fair.
episodes,
That's
she
fair.
was actually probably my favorite character.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask you. Who your favorite character was?
Uh, in the last few episodes, I think
She
Galadriel, just because
she
she had
did.
some awesome fight scenes
Yeah.
and she was kicking butt out there.
Yeah.
But through the whole show, my favorite character was probably that elf, which Aaron Deer,
Aaron
is that
Deer.
his name?
See, Aaron Deer was my favorite in the first few episodes, but I feel like they just didn't give him a lot to do, man.
Yeah, at the end. See, that's why it switched. Like at
Yeah.
first it was Aaron Deer because he was doing all the cool stuff,
Yeah.
and then it was Galadriel because she was doing all the cool stuff.
Jeff's a man for the fights. He's watching this for the fight scenes, baby.
Hey, I like to
Some
see elves
slow mo
doing cool
karate, baby.
things.
They did do some cool things. I think the big battle of episode 6, where it's just all of that. Aaron Deer shines there for sure, and so does Galadriel. They really do
Hmm.
the elf fighting. How did you think that they? I thought they shot that pretty well. Maybe a little too much slow mo, but the first time he fights at the like the orc prison and he's using the
Yeah, when he's in
chains.
those tunnels.
Yes, and then they like do the tug of war. I think that might have been my favorite fight of the whole show. I was
Yeah,
like,
that was
this is
cool.
cool and like so unique. Like fighting in the mud as elves with the chains and like trying to keep the orcs in the light and they're trying to keep them in the shadows.
Yeah, it was very well done. And Aaron Deer, like, I think my favorite part of that fight was when Aaron Deer, he like runs up a spear or something that was thrown at him and then attacks an orc. I was like, oh yeah, that was sweet. But I also
I like when he kicks the chain. They shoot a chain at him and he just kicks it back at him. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
oh
that's
yes,
sweet.
that
Yeah.
was cool. And I like how they made you think, okay, they've won, they're gonna escape, and then that guy climbs out and boom, shot by
And you're like,
some
of
archer.
course they're gonna have like an archer watching the
Oh
perimeter.
yeah.
That's genius. I was glad he didn't escape. I'm like, really? That's all it took?
Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
then he
yeah,
got shot, and you're like, thank goodness. Yeah, that's don't have to turn your brain off.
yeah, for sure.
Did you have a favorite battle?
Um, I think it was probably the big battle in episode, what was that, 6?
6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole episode is just a big battle.
Though I did have one problem with that battle, and it's like I'm not sure exactly how the timing works, but
This
like
show with the timing, I was quite confused a lot of
how
times.
did they sail across an ocean, travel who knows how far across Middle Earth to get to this huge battle between this tiny village and this orc army?
Exactly. And it's like, is this tiny village all the Southlands? They act like that's all the Southlands are. It's just this
It's just
tiny
a
village.
tiny village.
They're like,
That's
"I'll
the
hail
only
this
thing.
king," and I'm like,
Yeah,
there's a 30 of you right now. I don't know if you can call that a kingdom.
yeah. Well, I didn't have a problem with that as much because I think they were just using a one village to kind of
Symbolize
show.
the whole thing,
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
think it'd be hard to, show the whole kingdom, but maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, they do it with Numenor.
They do. Numenor's huge, but I think of in the Lord of the Rings when they show Rohan, it's literally like this
Like
village
that
on a
small valley.
mountaintop.
That's a
But
good
that's
point.
not the whole kingdom. The whole kingdom is pretty large.
I guess that's fair.
But they make you think, or as far as if you're just watching it, it makes you think, oh, it's
But
just this little village.
you see the soldiers of Rohan. You know, it's like
Yeah.
okay,
Oh,
here's the big army
and there's a
of the
lot.
country. Yeah,
But there's
but
no way,
here
like, they
there's
have like
nothing in the
6,000 or
Southlands.
something. There's no way all 6,000 live on that little
No,
mountaintop.
I'm not saying they do, but you at least get a sense of a broader
Yeah,
scale.
that's true. It's like, yeah, it's like the only warriors are this little village.
Right, like where's the help? They're
Yeah.
literal orcs in your homeland.
Yeah. That's a good point. Well, part of that might be because of who
They're getting
Halbrand
wiped out.
actually is. And that, yeah.
I liked how they were digging tunnels. I think that's a really cool idea of like before they had Mordor, they had to like find ways to survive in the world in the sunlight.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's a
that is
cool idea.
interesting. But that also made me think like just like knock down those little tents they got set up and then the orcs are useless in
Well,
those tunnels, right?
that's what they did. That's what they did.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like in Lord of the Rings, Sauron makes this giant cloud of darkness to cover the orcs so they don't have to worry about that. But
Well, they don't got Sauron right now. They got Adar, who's like baby Sauron.
yeah, so there's something.
Did you ever think he was Sauron?
No.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. It was too like they're not going to introduce him in the third episode in a slow mo walk up. You know?
Yeah, and it was, but they want to make you think that, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that
He
the
was one of
elves
the
in the
what did they
show
call it?
think he was.
He was one of the like what do you call it? Mr. X, him,
Yes,
Gandalf, and then Halbrand, who we'll talk about later, because he was my favorite
yes.
character.
Halbrand, oh, Halbrand was an excellent character.
Dude,
I
I loved how they handled him. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I
I
I should we just go ahead and get into talking
Yeah,
about
let's
him?
just talk about him. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
let's just talk about him.
I At first, she finds him on that shipwreck, that raft,
Mm-hmm.
and when he's the only one to survive, that's my first when I'm thinking,
Like red
okay,
flag. Yeah.
there's something, not necessarily a red flag. I'm just like, this guy is special because he
Right, because
survived
the
all
the
the
fodder died
yes, all
when you got
the
a main character here.
NPCs, if you will.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And then they get to Numenor, and the next big clue, at least for me, is like when he dominates those 3 or 4 guys in the alleyway.
Dude, that's the most brutal fight in he breaks his arm on the doorway, and I was like, "Whoa, where did that come
Yeah,
from?" Was not prepared.
yeah, that was brutal. And actually, that was a really pretty good fight. Uh,
Well, I mean, he kicks their butt. It wasn't a good fight. He just annihilates
well, it
them.
was one-sided, sure,
Yeah, yeah,
but it was well shot, I should say, at least.
yeah, yeah. Fun to watch.
But that's like another clue that you're like, okay, this guy is obviously more than he's claiming to be.
Hmm. Which you kind of know before that, even.
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. I'm saying it's like the second, maybe
yeah.
third tip-off thing. Because what is that? Is that
They're hinting it because he comes in and he sweet talks the people to letting him stay for another 3 days instead of
yeah,
just
yeah.
shipping her off or killing her or whatever.
And he wants to be like a
A
smith.
blacksmith. Yep.
So it's like, okay, this guy's
And he
obviously
already
got a past.
steals Galadriel's sword back from what Isildur's dad. What's his name?
Oh, Elendil?
Elendil, whatever.
Elendil. Yeah. Yeah, he just like gives him the classic, pat him on the
Classic
back,
hug.
steal the sword while you're doing that.
Uh-huh.
Right. And
That's a
then
funny shot too, because you're like, okay, I know what's happening. I guess he doesn't.
yeah, the whole audience knows.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a kind of a trope, a classic trope there.
Classic trope. Yeah.
And then what is there anything, the one thing that threw
They
me
keep
off,
showing his sigil on his
they
like
keep showing
hat.
that sigil,
Yep.
and so they're trying to make you think he's like the king of the Southlands.
Yeah. For a second, I thought, oh crap, they're doing Aragorn 2.0. You know?
Right, right. And I think
But
a lot
yeah,
of people thought that.
yeah.
I
Which you
thought,
know,
I mean, I thought that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's the thing that kind of like bolstered that is when he, oh shoot,
Fights in the big battle, right?
well, when he fights in the big battle, but when he's about to kill that Adar,
Uh huh.
whatever you say his name, but that dark elf guy, I'm like, okay, this guy obviously
Is
terrorized
anti.
Halbrand, so it's
Uh-huh.
like they really did a good job of selling that, I think.
I agree, especially
If
when
they,
he's like, "Did I kill your wife or your child?" You know,
yeah,
and you're like, "Okay, something like that happened." Sauron doesn't have a wife and child.
I mean, and that's one of the good, yeah, the really good things they did of the show, however few they might be, is they sold that really well.
And the whole time you're like, Galadriel, just kiss him. Y'all want to kiss? Y'all are like
Yeah,
necking. Y'all are just like so close to each other's faces. There's heat the whole time. I was just like,
yeah.
goodness gracious, just kiss already.
Well,
Sheesh.
and then like to that point, I saw this comment on Reddit. I think it was like after the last episode, and it used a little language, but they were just like making fun of how Galadriel like effed him all across Middle Earth, and it's just like I was like, yeah, it made me laugh. And then she's so shocked that he's uh, who he ends up being.
I mean, they even fight, and then afterwards they sit down and they're like, "Oh, did you feel that? We got something to go
Yes, yeah.
on."
And he's like, "Be my queen," and
Yeah.
she's like, you can see it. She considers it for a second. You're like, dude, Galadriel, come on.
You literally were hunting this guy down. I loved everything about that because it makes you like even going forward now in the new seasons, you're gonna have like a feeling towards Sauron that before you
Yeah,
did not have. You know?
but also that's weird, and that's one of the other like I think that's one of the other big thing people were unhappy with is like Galadriel's married to Celeborn already.
Oh, she kind of mentions him, but like before that, I'm like, she's single as heck. She's really wanting this dude. Like, they're like googling eyeing each other,
Yeah,
and
well,
then
exactly.
she's got a husband. And I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah, she's already
I
married to
just assumed he
Celeborn, and it's
died.
like,
Did he
what's
not die? Is he
no?
alive? He didn't die
Yeah,
in the war or nothing.
no. I mean, he's in Lord of the Rings.
Golly, I don't remember. I guess. Jeez, see, I forgot because of how much she was googling
Yeah,
eyeing
yeah,
Sauron
exactly.
apparently.
Well, watching the show, I completely forgot too. But it's just like, and so I think people were really unhappy with that, and I guess for
Yeah,
good
I mean
reason.
that's fair. Yeah, if she's got a husband, I mean maybe she's just not. I don't know how elves be doing things. I don't know what their
But
marriages are like.
I mean, yeah, they could be what, polygamist? Is that the right word?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she's just. I mean, nothing about her character makes me think she would be against cheating.
Not in this show.
Not in this show.
Not in this show. Absolutely.
She's like, I am going to eradicate your species from the planet, Adar. Also, hey, I have a question. You might know this. Uruks and orcs. What is the difference? Because he keeps clarifying to her, I'm a Uruk. Gosh, how do you say that? You know what I'm talking about?
Uh,
Uruk
what
versus orc.
Adara is saying?
Yeah, Adara. Adara is saying he's a Uruk.
Oh, so he's basically a dark elf, or like a dark elf.
Aren't all orcs like elves that are twisted by the darkness?
So, okay, here's a bit of Silmarillion knowledge for you.
That's what I'm asking. Yeah, yeah.
There's basically all the elves are created, and then uh, Morgoth, who they mention, who's basically,
He's the big bad. I wish that this show was about him,
yeah,
honestly.
he's the equivalent of like Satan, kind of in
Yeah,
real world, or compared to
in the
like an
lore.
actual religion or
Hmm.
something. But he's like he corrupts a chunk of the elves, and they become these dark elves. But then like they are kind of just like there's not like a ton of them because they're just like a little bit of sect of the elves that he stole. And but then he like creates orcs, which are kind of like corrupted his version of trying to make elves, and they're just evil.
But
But
they're not
like
orcs.
no, but so like Adar
Are
is
those
I think he's one
Uruk?
of the elves that maybe Morgoth Sauron corrupted.
Hmm. But then he
It,
says he kills Sauron,
uh,
which I think is why Sauron wanted to kill him.
See, yeah, I don't know. That's
Yeah, I'm sure they'll
confusing.
explain
And
that
and I
more.
don't know, that could have been though, that could have just been him like I don't know, bluffing essentially, just
I
trying to
guess. Yeah.
throw
But he didn't
Galadriel
know who
off.
Halbrand was. So, at least the
Right.
Sauron that Adar thinks he killed didn't look like Halbrand.
Right. To me I took that as he was like he's trying to protect Sauron like and trying to throw Galadriel because he knows Galadriel's hunting Sauron, so he's like, "Oh, Sauron's dead." But
But I don't think they're on the same page. I don't think they like each other. That's what I'm saying. I
oh,
think Adar and
well,
Sauron are
they
not on
may
the same.
not like each other,
Yeah. I don't think he's
but
trying to protect him. I think he actually thinks he killed him. I don't know. I guess we'll see in
okay,
the
that's
future.
not how I interpreted that though.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
yeah, I guess we'll see what happens because we know that Sauron is in fact alive, and so is
Uh,
Adar.
I loved in the prison cell when he and Galadriel were talking and, just doing their thing, flirting or, whatever. But
Oh,
he's talking to her about why did she throw you in the dungeon? Why did the queen finally throw you in the dungeon? And she tells him it's because she talked about her father, who's still the king. And he's like, okay, so now you know what they fear. You have to master what they fear, so then you can master them. And I'm like, he's straight up telling her what he plans to do
yeah,
to Middle Earth. Like, I don't even
yeah,
think he has it in his mind yet, but like that's how he thinks all the time. And so I just think that I was like, oh, that's so cool. Now
yeah.
looking back,
And looking back on that, it's like, oh, that's like a tell that of who he actually
yeah.
is. But like
Uh,
in the moment, you're just kind of like, oh, okay,
well, that makes sense. Yeah, that's wisdom.
yeah, right.
So I love that. Yeah. The only thing I would say is there was no hint of magic with him. Isn't Sauron's thing? Is he's a sorcerer kind of guy?
Yes, yeah. He's So he's one of the Maiar. He's basically equivalent to like Gandalf.
That's what I thought.
He's like an evil Gandalf, and maybe
And
more
I guess,
powerful, but
I mean,
he's a sorcerer,
yeah.
and yeah, there was no
The
hint of
only hint,
magic.
the only hint I could think of is maybe they're like he gets wounded in the battle, and they're like this needs elvish medicine, and then they ride on horseback for like a day or whatever,
Right,
and
he
you're like,
doesn't
okay,
die.
he's fine. Yeah. So you're like, well, that's weird.
That's the only. I think you're right. I think that's the only hint. But I think they probably weren't showing a lot of him using any sorcery or anything to keep
To
the
try to throw
audience
you off
thrown
more.
off.
Yeah.
Because if you see magic coming like from him, you're like, okay, wait a second. This guy's not like a king. He's
And I guess
somebody
he was
else.
hiding it.
Yeah, he could have been. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do if they explain that in any way.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know, something was
Like he's
diminishing his
forgotten his
powers or
magic. Yeah.
something.
Another thing I loved about that is Gilead and Elrond. They're talking, and Gilead says that he foresaw if Galadriel kept searching that she might inadvertently keep alive the evil she sought to defeat.
Mm,
And then that is exactly what happened. Where Halbrand is literally like, "Look, I was done. I was done, and then I met you, and you kind of revived me." And it's like, that's awesome. Just
I don't
cool
know. I
because like
thought,
she
yeah,
caused all of this because her stubborn headedness and her terrible character just
yeah.
would not relent.
Which just makes you think like, what would happen if she would have like either one
Just chilled out.
let him drown,
Yeah. Well, no, he saves her.
and he saves her there.
Yeah.
But he wanted to stay in Numenor, and she was
That's what
like,
I'm
"No,
saying.
we're getting out of here."
She just keeps pushing him, pushing him, pushing him, and it's like, all right, because he wanted to stay on the boat, and then they get rescued, and then he wants to stay in Numenor, and then she won't let him, and then he doesn't want to be king, and then she's like, no, you need to be king, and then like all this stuff happens, and in the end, he's like, look, I was done, and then you pushed me into this, and now I'm
Yeah,
Sauron again, baby,
yeah.
let's go.
But I don't know. I find it hard to believe that he was really done. Like, I think he was still greedy for power. He was just gonna do it a different way.
He was on a boat in the middle of the ocean. I don't know what he was going to do
Yeah,
with a bunch of
I don't know.
NPCs.
Maybe he planned it exactly how it happened. He's like, I know where Galadriel's
I
gonna
don't know.
be.
They didn't really hint at that.
No, they didn't. I'm just pure speculation there.
So I brought in Elrond, and we haven't even talked about. I think what might have been my favorite two characters in the show is Durin and
Oh,
Elrond
yeah.
and their whole storyline.
That might have actually been my favorite storyline, just
Yeah,
because you get to see. I love a good elf dwarf friendship. Uh, I just have finished watching The Lord of the Rings again,
yeah,
and I love Legolas and Gimli. It's
it's
just
great.
they have a
And
great relationship. They're funny. I mean, it's just good.
these
It's
two
good stuff.
even feel more real to me, like a real friendship.
Yeah, yeah. Those actors both did really good
Yeah, they
in
kill
those
it.
parts. Yeah, dude. I honestly until you brought that up, I hadn't really been thinking about that, but that is probably my favorite storyline because it kind of
It's
leads to the creation of the three Elven rings.
yeah,
First of all, which is the point of the whole show,
uh huh.
or part of the point of the whole show, and just because, yeah, a good elf dwarf friendship and those it was a great storyline, great characters there.
I love how Elrond seems more sincere than other elves, even though he's still a politician. Like he still does his job,
Yeah,
but he like seems like he like genuinely cares about people. Where some of elves are just like not that way at all. At least
yeah.
the ones you see in this movie and even in Lord of the Rings, he kind of seems a little more hardened.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, he is more hardened in Lord of the Rings, but like to me, that character he flows so well. It's like, okay, this is Elrond.
yeah,
He makes sense to me here. He makes sense to me in Lord of the Rings. How
more than
he
Galadriel for
Where
sure.
Galadriel's she's two different characters.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's
it's wild.
that part is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What is? Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What is Elrond's heritage exactly? I was getting confused. Like his father was an
Okay.
elf, right? And he
Yeah. So
carries the stars now. And was his
here,
mom human?
here you go. I got the Silmarillion, my copy with me right here. It's got kind of the heritage of
Oh, good. Get the
Elrond.
rustling of the pages in this. There we go.
You can edit that out.
I'm opening up a book.
Okay. His dad is the elf, and
that goes to Valinor to convince the Valinor to fight for Middle Earth on their side, right? Against Morgoth.
Yeah, and his mom is a human. And so he comes from like basically his lineage on the elvish side. It comes from so there's like three when the elves are like come to Middle Earth, there's three elves that are like the top dogs. They're the kings of the elves. And there's like basically it turns into three sects of different sects of elves. And these three guys are at the top, and Elrond comes from the lineage of one of them.
Okay.
One of like the three biggest.
But I thought they even act in the show like elves and humans. No, don't go together.
Oh yeah, I mean
So
they
was this like how is Elrond so high up in this
so
elvish society if he's like basically like a what do you call it mudblood from Harry Potter terminology?
so I'll try to be brief here, I guess. But there's this story which there's like if they're gonna make if they're gonna to make like a couple other movies or something, there's this story in the Silmarillion called Beren and Luthien, and it's one of the best stories, and it's just kind of like this is the human or the well, it's both the human and the elvish descent of Elrond where it starts. And basically Luthien is the daughter of one of the big three elvish kings, and Beren is this human that falls in love. And Luthien's father at first is like, no, this is not happening because elf human, they don't do that. But he says, okay, Luthien clearly loves this Beren guy. I'll allow it on one condition that Beren has to go. And at this point, like Morgoth, the big bad, he has all three Silmarils, which are the elvish jewels that have like a lot of power. We find out it's actually where Mithril comes from in whatever episode that is, 6 or 7 maybe.
The tree,
Yeah,
the roots of the tree.
with the roots of the tree. Anyway, he quests this bear and the human to go get one of the jewels back from Morgoth if he wants to marry Luthien. And it's this whole big story, really cool story, really beautiful. I think it would make a great movie. But eventually he gets the Silmaril back. They have a kid, and their kids have kids. Basically, that's where Elrond comes from. So, like,
Oh,
even though
so
it is like,
so his dad isn't like a pure elf
yeah, no,
because he comes from that line.
yeah, no, his dad is not even pure elf,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
so
mean that's
it
a lot
is
to
a
get into, but
it is a no-no basically, or yeah, they are kind of like mixed breeds basically, but it's like a cool story of how it happens. So,
yeah, they kind of gloss over that, but
oh yeah, they
that
don't. I mean,
is
they don't
that
bring that
Elrond
up in
misses his
the
dad,
show.
so that's fine, and that was enough for the purpose of this story.
Right.
Mithril was kind of cool. You were talking about that. I thought that was
Yeah,
an interesting way to bring it into this story, and then also
yeah,
at first we thought, oh, when they open that chest and they're talking about the secret that the dwarves have, I thought it was going to be the Arkenstone, but no, it was Mithril, and
yeah,
that works out better. So
yeah. And I really I liked that part of the story. I think that is pretty accurate, or it's
how
very
does
accurate.
Mithril save the elves though?
Uh, like I
Because they kind of
said,
just kind of talk about it, but they don't really say why or how. Like those rings are supposed to save them and
yeah.
keep them from being fatal. Like they're immortal, but they need Mithril to stay in Middle Earth somehow, and I don't quite get it.
Well, basically, like I was saying, the Mithril comes from the Silmarils,
Uh huh.
and a lot of the elves are kind of like they have this like curse almost that if they don't like they have to get the Silmarils back in some fashion, or they like have to go leave Middle Earth or
I
like
guess they lose
die
their
or something.
immortality.
They don't necessarily lose their immortality, but they're just gonna like be in wars and they're just gonna get killed in Middle Earth and stuff.
Hmm.
Or they can go live in Valinor and
Be fine.
be fine. But yeah, Mithril's just pretty cool. I mean, it was cool in Lord of the Rings, cool in The
Hmm.
Hobbit,
Fun
and
concept.
yeah. So I don't know. Do you know this that Khazad-dûm is actually? I think they say it in Lord of the Rings, but it's like that's the mines of Moria, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I caught that mostly because the Belrog that down at the bottom.
Yes. Yeah.
Durin, I love Durin in this show. Like his relationships are all like super strong, like with his wife, with his father, with
Mm-hmm.
Elrond. I think that's all really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But his father is right. They got to stop digging, and he doesn't listen. And I think they're gonna wake the Belrog, and that's how. Is that
Well,
how the mines get like become what they are in
Yeah,
Lord of the
and I
Rings.
was I was thinking about that today, actually. I was
I'm like,
like,
is Durin the reason that they all died?
yeah, oh, yeah. Possibly because of their greed, essentially. I was thinking that today, though, that I hope they like do that story well and show like that interesting battle there,
Hmm.
because that'll be cool. And yeah, they do show the Balrog waking up at the end of
Kind of like
episode
a teaser.
7,
Yeah, like, hey, check it out.
which at the same time is when we are like the very next scene is where we find out the Southlands are actually renamed to Mordor.
Yes.
Which how did you feel about how they revealed that?
I loved it. I thought it was cool. I mean, the
I
idea they put the
I
Southland and then they mark it out and they put Mordor, and you're like, oh, well, I caught that, but that's still a cool way to do it.
yeah, yeah. I thought it was maybe a little cheesy, but I did
Who
like
cares?
the volcano exploding, and it's like, oh, that's Mount
Dude.
Doom. Oh,
Yeah, it's so cool. That's what I'm saying. Like that whole revelation of like the mountain
yeah,
exploding, and you're like, okay, this is how Mordor's created. This is what the orcs are like talking about. Like, oh, we're gonna have a homeland soon. It's gonna be here.
yeah, yeah. And it's like
You just create a
Southlands,
permanent cloud of dust.
Mordor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
liked that a
No,
lot.
I did like it too.
Who knew that the bartender was gonna be the creator of Mordor?
Yeah, that to me though, that was so
Cracks me
stupid.
up.
It cracks me up. It's stupid. It's like
It was
this
a good twist because
random.
you're like, Adar is he's like, hey, I got something for you, and then you forget about it. At least I forgot about it. You
I
know,
didn't forget, but I did
I
not think
forgot when
that's
he
what he was
walked out
doing.
and he gave him the. He didn't even you didn't even see what it gives him. He just I got a job for you, and then they chase him and then they get it back. I'm like nobody looked to see the sword is in his possession. They're just like, well, it's wrapped up. It's fine. Don't worry
Well,
about it.
I knew that other guy had the sword. Like
You
I knew
knew
that
it,
was
huh?
a fake. Oh yeah, yeah. It's a classic
I guess I'm dumb. I
misdirect.
didn't catch that one.
It's a classic misdirect. But I did not think that was like a key to explode the
To create
volcano.
Mordor.
I thought it was like, okay, this is some weapon of Sauron that's
Dude, it
like
looks so cool. That's
it was
this whole
cool.
show, man. The weapons are so cool.
I thought it was a weapon, but it was a
Yeah,
stinking key.
it's a key. I know.
All it was like
It's a dang shadow sword, and they're gonna use it as a key.
that like feeds off the blood of
Of its
whoever's using it,
user. Yeah, so
and
cool.
it's just a key to open up more. I'm like, oh, that is
Used
the
by a bartender.
lamest thing. I hope it comes back into play, and it's like this is Sauron's sword,
Yeah, that
and he
would be
just like
sweet.
murders with it. Because otherwise, it's
What
so
a
lame
wasted
just to have
potential.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
have a
the way they
cool
introduce it
weapon.
and everything, you're like, this is sweet. I don't quite understand it. The
Yeah,
the old Bronwyn's son Theo, that doofus. I'm like, what's
oh
he doing
yeah.
with this
I mean,
sword? Like, what is
what an
his
idiot.
story even at all? Everything about him just I was like, I do not like this kid.
No, I didn't like him either. I thought he did a good job as far as
Great
acting
actor.
goes.
Yeah.
But I was
Made me
like,
not like him.
this kid is like, he's just messing things up. Is all he's doing.
That's all he's doing.
It's literally all he did was he basically was like loved his mom so much, but kept putting her in danger.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, don't mess around
Also,
with that
his
stuff.
mom, Bronwyn, I'm like, why is she the leader here? Is that is, did it kind of explain that? Like, wasn't she just like a maid at that place
Because she was
to control,
into
I
that
guess?
elf. I don't into
Yeah,
Arendir.
yeah, Aaron
I
here.
mean, uh,
I'm like, if I had to pick between her and the bartender, I'm like, well, obviously the bartender's making bad mistakes, but he at least he was in charge of her for a time. I just don't even understand.
yeah, I don't know.
It
Yeah,
was weird.
I don't know.
And also the whole love between races, like forbidden love, is a tired trope, and they do it okay. But I was just like, making Arendir less important to me. I don't know
The
how
just
Arendir
because
and
it's like
Brodwyn were like
elf and human.
elf and human. It's like, oh, it's forbidden love, but we're gonna sneak a kiss every now and then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
all right,
I know. I was just like,
good
okay,
deal.
let's just like
I mean,
commit.
honestly, him as the stepdad to Theo was almost more interesting than him and Bronwyn to me.
Yeah, yeah. But then like Galadriel comes in as almost like a stepmom to Theo. I'm like,
Dude,
what are you
that was my
doing?
least favorite part of episode 7. I'm like, what the heck? Episode 6 was so epic. And then they go to episode 7, and it's like, just slow it down to a halt. I mean, why did Galadriel and Theo leave the village to go and find the village again?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
what? I was so confused.
yeah. I don't know.
Like,
That
they
was
went off and
weird.
did their own little adventure, and I'm like, what is this even for?
But I did love the opening shot where it's just like red
The
and
ash.
ash and
Yeah.
Galadriel's just like walking. I was like, dude, this is so cool.
Yeah. Such good imagery.
Yeah, and then her little adventure with Theo was like, okay, what the heck
What are
is
we
going on
doing?
here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
The end of episode 7 was good, but the meat of it, I was like, we're slowing down. I wanted to pick things up. Episode 6 was so cool.
so the question is, along with that, at the end of that episode, how does Isildur
Survive? Yeah. We
survive?
know he's alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the guy who kills Sauron, right? And then
He
doesn't
cuts off
destroy
his
the ring.
finger. He cuts off. Well, yeah, kills him, cuts off the ring, but then keeps the ring. Yeah, which at the time when I watched that episode or the last episode, I guess maybe that was when that happened. I completely forgot Isildur is the guy that like
Yeah.
kills Sauron for a time being. I'm like,
So you thought he was dead.
I thought he was dead. Yeah.
They didn't show it, so you know he's not dead.
And then
But
that's
that
when
was
like
crazy.
you and Kayla were like, oh, Jeff, that's the guy that I'm like, oh, okay.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. He's an expert. People, I told you he's an expert. Just ignore that.
Me? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
you.
I mean I knew that the whole time. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
But it
That's
is
funny.
interesting because he's stuck there in like Mordor now, and Sauron's on his way
Yeah.
back there. So it's like, hey, buddy, let me free
Yeah.
you from this, so he
Yeah.
can kill me later.
Kill you later.
I don't know. That'll
Yeah,
be
that'll be
interesting to see
interesting
what they
for
do.
sure. That's a fun plot thread that they leave hanging.
That is. I mean,
I also liked his dad. I thought like the actor for his dad. I
Yeah.
don't know, just the way he talked, like the way he carried himself, like his demeanor. I don't know, and the way he delivered lines. I just thought he was cool. I was like,
yeah,
if he had more time, I think he might have been my favorite character.
yeah. I wonder if he'll play, because he kind of took on a little bit bigger of a role there in those later episodes.
Hmm.
So I wonder what.
With the queen being blind,
Yeah,
which was
I
kind of a
guess,
twist. I'm like, oh,
especially.
look at them actually creating consequences.
Yeah, I liked that actually a lot. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, this is kind of cool. I had also just read a book where the main character was blind, and so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm on a blind person kick right now. I loved it. I was like, yeah, go queen, you got this, girl.
Oh, it's funny.
It's like you don't need vision.
She's handling it better than I would be. I'd be freaking the heck
Oh,
out.
absolutely. It was a little unclear to me though if she couldn't see at all, or if she just lost like she could only make out
she can only make out
basically.
shapes. Yeah. Well, I mean, she put a blindfold on at one
Yeah,
point, so it's like,
which
okay, I
that
guess she
made me
can't see
think she
nothing.
can't see at all.
And talking about Isildur, I thought he was kind of dumb this whole show, like making these bad
Yeah.
decisions 24/7. I'm like, what is going on? We're supposed to like this character. He's supposed to, I guess they're setting up that he's just making bad decisions.
I
his
think
whole
it might
life.
be on par with his character. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
bad decision central over there. He gets his friends kicked out of the Navy or whatever.
Uh-huh. And
Uh,
then begs to go fight with him.
begs to go fight, get in the war effort, and then I can't even remember. Somehow he does something dumb and gets stuck under that building, right?
I mean, he's trying to save somebody, I think, but
Okay,
I mean,
well,
just a lot of the things that they made this character do. He's just
yeah,
like the opposite of his dad in demeanor.
yeah,
Like he seemed unsure all the time. He's always just looking ahead, like I want to go adventure. He wanted to explore whatever his brother was exploring beforehand, and not be sailing in the ocean like his dad. I don't know. The actor was
yeah,
good, but the character, I was like, well, if they're making it where we don't want to like him that much, they're doing a pretty good job. Also,
yes,
maybe because I liked his dad so much, and his son just kept giving him headaches.
yeah. And his dad's such like a regal, like,
Yeah.
okay, this guy, he was like a good guy, and
Uh-huh.
his son's an idiot. You're like, come on, dude, come on. And then I guess that kind of brings us to like the rings, them creating the rings,
Yeah.
and we find out that Halbrand is actually Sauron.
Dude, I'm a sucker for a good mind battle at the end of a story. When he
Yeah,
goes into her mind and they're doing all the like flashbacks and like talking to each other and
when
screaming at each other, I'm like, dude, I'm into this. This is sweet.
did you wonder? Like, I wondered for just a short amount of time. Like, did they actually like transport to this place, to these places?
You always have
or
to fill out the scene. Like, are they trying to make this like a dream sequence? Or are they trying to be like,
yeah,
okay, this is actually
yeah,
happening? Pretty quick, you found out, okay, this is a dream sequence.
right. It's
Like when
just
she's talking to her
mind
brother at the
games.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But I love that whole thing. Even there where he's like, be my queen. I'm into you, girl. Like, let's go do this thing. And she's like,
And she's
"No,
like,
tempting,
"Yeah,
but
I
no, I
can't
want to
do
kill you. You're
Yeah,
evil.
yeah."
I got to remember that. Like, I'm evil,
It's
but I
like, "You
saved
were
your
so
life."
hot a second
Yeah,
ago. Now I know who you are, and I have to kill you."
yeah. And then when both Galadriel and Elrond know that he's Sauron, but they're like, "Yeah, we can't really say anything. Like, we need these rings, so I guess we just know Sauron helped us make them, and
Yeah,
this is what he wanted."
yeah, yeah, that was like, "Oh, bummer, we can't tell anyone." Which I don't know why they
I mean, I guess they could tell
S
people like, "Hey,
Sauron
Sauron
didn't
helped us make this."
he didn't make the rings, he just kind of guided them along, so it's like, eh. But I
It's
loved
what
that
he
scene
wanted.
when it shows them, like, pouring the like, we you flow see the molten, like, metal and go into the molds and stuff. I don't know, I
Uh-huh.
thought that was so cool just seeing them actually make the rings
Yeah, again, the
instead
imagery
of
is really sweet.
being, like, just like a cut and be like, "Oh, look, here's the rings."
Yeah.
You get to
Again,
see the
sorry, I'm just saying the the look of the show is awesome.
Oh,
Like, it
absolutely.
looked awesome the whole time. I loved the orcs' costume design. It might have been my favorite part of it. Just these orcs looked scary and mean and real versus like I don't hate the Hobbit trilogy like a lot of people do, but one thing I did hate about it is how all the orcs were CGI and how in Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings they're all like practical and they
yeah,
look so gross and
yeah.
mean. And like these looked really good, I thought.
Yes, they
I
did.
love their design.
I agree, they did an excellent job.
Numenor looked cool.
Yes, Numenor was, I mean, how I think you would imagine it.
Uh
Um, yeah, they just did an excellent job with like set design,
Visuals.
costume, scenery. It was all really good. And like that's kind of, I think that's kind of the consensus is like, dude, the show looks beautiful, looks great. There just was like the story
Some
was just
writing
kind of
issues.
choppy and weird.
Yeah.
It's like, so if they kind of make things flow better, I think, and still have the same quality of the visual effects stuff and scenery,
Hmm.
season 2 could be really, really good, but that will be to be determined.
Definitely. What do we got? Anything else that you can think of we want to talk about? We barely hit on the stranger and how he is
Yeah.
Gandalf.
Yeah, we did, and it's just because I don't. Besides that, a little bit of mystery there, I just don't like the Harper part. So it's like,
Yeah, I agree. There's just not much to
what
talk
is there to
about with
talk
them.
about? There
Yeah.
was that one scene that was interesting. Okay, there's two things I want to bring
Where
up.
they were throwing rocks at the
Oh
ghost
yeah,
people, whatever they are.
those people like think he's Sauron, and that's like
Yeah.
another misdirect. And like I saw this instantly a meme all over Reddit and stuff after that episode, but where he says like the worst line in all history, I think, "I'm good." I mean, someone wrote that.
I mean, I didn't hate it because the whole time Nori's trying to tell him he's good, and then he gets affirmation that he's bad, and then he realizes, oh, I'm actually good guy. I'm not
But
Sauron.
he doesn't have to say that, or he could say it in a better way.
He could say it in a better way, but I
And
didn't
whose
hate
benefit is that for? Because the audience is
himself.
seeing that told out
It's for
by the
himself. It's
battle.
affirmation. He's going like, no, I
Yeah,
can decide I'm
I'm
good.
good. Oh, dude, it was just it was like
It was a
instant
cheesy
meme right
line for
there.
sure. Yeah, no,
Instant meme. But I
it
love it.
was.
I
That's
hate
like
it and love it all at
a
once.
little bit like the last oh gosh, Rise of Skywalker, where she's like, I am all the Jedi, and you're like, what the heck does that even mean?
Oh, yes, yes. Let's not get
Yeah,
into those
let's not
movies,
get
though.
into those movies. Yeah, I agree.
That's a whole nother discussion.
They're just going for like the huge impact moment, the I am Iron Man and then snapping the fingers. You're just not gonna get that all the time. Especially when you write it as I am good.
But yeah, I mean, so the stranger were basically led to believe that that's going to be Gandalf. Um,
He all of a sudden got his voice back when they
yeah,
talked to him, and like
which
now he's
thank
just a
goodness.
normal dude. Thank goodness, yeah.
I was a little bit tired of I
The
don't know words, but somehow I'm learning these words in like minutes.
yeah.
Like, no, okay. Like you either don't know how to communicate or you do.
I think the idea is he always did, but he was just needing like refreshers,
Or yeah, he needed
and then they
those
officially,
three weird sorcerers, whatever they were, to
yeah, give him a nice knock on the head with
yeah,
magic.
yeah, yeah. But that is another thing that at least that might be my biggest issue is like technically Gandalf's not supposed to be on Middle Earth yet, and so
Yeah, they're just doing it for the pull of knowing that Gandalf's in the show.
right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's close. It's probably fairly close, so whatever. I can get over it,
Yeah.
or I have to probably because I'm not making the show.
There's one other character I wanted to touch on. I don't know how to say his name exactly. Farzan. He's the like politician in Numenor that's underneath the queen, and he has
Yeah.
an epic hair beard combo.
Yeah,
He
he
looks
does.
dope. I'm like, if I could
He-
grow my hair out like that, I guess I would. because that looks awesome,
I gotta
especially with the
look.
white in the beard.
I gotta
I
look
was
him
like,
up
dude,
to
no wonder.
get a
But
refresher
I'm
on
like,
exactly
that
what he
guy's
looks like.
definitely going to try to overthrow the queen at some point, right? Like the people, he's got the silver tongue or whatever, and he's talking about how he wants to rule the Southlands once they give him their king and save their lands. He's like, I still hate elves. I just feel like in the future he might end up being more of a adversary than even though he showed loyalty the whole show. I just feel like
Yeah.
something's going to happen there, or his son is going to do it. I don't know.
So I put him into Google, and it looks like he might be. I think it's got a bigger
Careful.
role to play.
I was going to say, careful. Don't be spoiling it for me
No,
or anybody.
I'm in danger of spoiling it for myself.
Yeah, maybe just look at Google Images.
I tried. They didn't have a picture of him, but other artwork. Anyways,
Just look at the cast.
spoiler alert, that character might have a bigger role coming
That's what I'm
in the
saying.
next
He's
season.
gonna have a big role. He's definitely gonna do something important.
I think you're right, though. I kind of forgot about him though, because he wasn't a super big character.
No, he had one episode where they showed him quite a bit,
Yeah,
but that was about it.
I had that one episode where he was like about to stage a rebellion, and then he's like, "Actually, no, I got to support the queen." I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?"
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like he seemed to have the people eating out of the palm of his hand, but he
Yeah.
was still supporting the queen. the
On
whole
that
time.
one girl that like was it Isildur's sister?
Daughter. Oh yeah, Isildur's sister.
Yeah, Elendil's daughter.
Elendil's daughter.
She's like bought into that guy.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too. She has that. There's gonna be more with her too because that scene, I think maybe last scene where she is like drawing the king while he's about to die, and the king
Shows her the vision that they all saw.
mistakes her for the current queen, basically, and
Uh-huh.
shows him that vision or whatever. So
About that vision is they call it a palindry.
a
Is that the one that
Palantir, I think.
Palantir? Yeah. Seeing Stone. Is that the one from Lord of the Rings? Or is it different?
I don't know if it's the same one. There's multiple of
But it's the
these.
same idea.
It's like it's the same thing, but there's like I
Because
think
like Sauron has one, right?
Yeah.
In Mordor in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings,
yes.
and that's how they could like see each other.
There's like I would need to look it up to remember exactly. I think there's maybe like 7 of them on Middle Earth. I want to say. Don't quote me on that.
I don't know. Those are cool. Those are a cool concept.
But
I
like
liked when
the
they brought
elves
them in.
have some.
Yeah.
Sauron has some. I mean, one of
Apparently
them's
Numenor.
like Saruman has in Lord of the
Yeah.
Rings. But like in the show, Numenor,
Uh-huh.
the king has, or queen, whatever, has one. Anyways, there's just a few of them basically scattered around Middle Earth. I'm sure that'll come into play more as well.
Well, you got anything else?
Dude, I mean, we could dive in on more other podcasts too.
Yeah.
Just Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
Hobbit, even Silmarillion, which you probably don't know that much about, but
I know nothing about it. Other
I'm
than
almost done reading it. Like I said,
Yeah.
There's some cool stories in it. There's some stuff that is hard to kind of read through, but
Yeah.
I think as far as Rings of Power goes, we
We're good?
covered most of it. Most all I
I
can
think so.
think of is right now. I mean, you could probably do a whole nother episode on
Diving more into like each episode.
yeah, for
But
sure.
I kind of wanted to just get an overview of it, give us our
Right.
like general thoughts,
General thoughts,
characters,
good review
places. Yeah,
of the show as a whole, yeah.
exactly.
And I think we accomplished that.
I think so. What would you give it out of 10?
Out of 10,
Out of 10. We do these ratings a lot in this show, so
of which I do know that.
exactly.
I'll say 7.
7. That's about where I was landing too. I'm watching Andor at the same time as this show, and Andor to me is
Andor is-
just so superior that it makes it
Andor
hard.
It's like a 9, if
Yeah.
not a 10.
Higher, yeah, exactly.
It's at least a 9. We still got 2 episodes left of that.
And Ashton was watching Game of Thrones or House of Dragon, and he said that one is better too.
Yeah,
it makes this show harder to watch, I think, because like if it had been going on by itself, people would be like, "Well, this is a good show. It's not great."
I think it suffered a little bit
from. You're comparing it to these two great TV shows, and you're like,
yeah,
this is probably third on the list.
It suffered.
I was gonna say 7.2 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean that's because
like you said, if it was alone. It had some highs, but it also had some real lows. Like that whole first episode, I was like, I'm not having fun. I'm not really wanting to watch the rest of this.
And that whole first episode was just kind of weird. It's like, okay, Galadriel's on this quest to find Sauron, and then it's
when she kills that orc that took everyone in the Lord of the Rings to kill, and she does it by herself in like one swing.
No, that was sweet.
And then she looked at the camera and she's like, "Yeah, I'm awesome." I almost turned it off. I'm like, I can't do this. That was too much.
Oh, dude, I like that scene a lot.
You liked that scene?
Oh yeah, I'm a sucker for.
See, they made it for you. They made it for you. That's right. Just all about that action.
But yeah.
I don't know.
Andor,
right, 7
dude, if you want to have me on talk about Andor, I'd love that.
See, I've got another buddy that we talked about the first 2 episodes on. Hey, you should go back. We got a catalog. You can watch it, listen to a few episodes that you're into.
I will.
Catch up, and then we'll have you back on to talk about. I could have you and him talk about Andor. We could have like a 3-hour podcast just talking about how great this show is.
It is so good.
But as far as Lord of the Rings, I think we did, or Rings of Power, I think we did a good job here. Thanks for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Maybe this is a taste of things to come. We'll have you on more often.
Yeah, I'd like to plug my own podcast. Just kidding.
Oh, do it.
No, I don't have a podcast. But don't.
I know you don't have a podcast.
But you got to plug stuff at the end of your podcast.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. You got an Instagram. You got a Facebook or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't want to give it to your listeners.
Exactly. You got to get to know them better first.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks again, man. And thank you all for listening. Like and subscribe. Oh, no, you don't really have to subscribe. Just like. That's fine. 5 stars. That's all I'm asking. You can subscribe later. All right. Later.
Bye.